Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Moments. Taeyong has once again left ARMY curious after uploading a short video on Instagram showing himself on his way to a chartered plane for a flight to Boston. The simple post immediately caught attention, especially because BTS's trip to Boston has become one of the moments many fans have been eagerly waiting for. However, one thing quickly became a question. In the middle of all the departure scenes, Jimin and Jungkook were nowhere to be seen. Even Hobi was not visible with the group shown in some of the posts. So, where are our Jimin and Jungkook? That question soon began circulating among ARMY. Had they already boarded the plane? Or were they simply somewhere else and out of the camera's view? The possibility that Jimin and Jungkook had already boarded the plane certainly makes sense. Perhaps they chose to enter earlier or used a different access point. But as usual, ARMY also didn't miss the opportunity to joke about it. Some even joked that there was no way they could have left earlier than Yoongi. Another funny theory also started appearing. Maybe Jimin and Jungkook came from the very back and immediately went inside without being caught on camera? For now, their whereabouts during that departure moment have not been clearly seen. But it is precisely these simple things that make BTS's travels so interesting. One short post from a single member can turn into a little mystery that keeps ARMY around the world busy looking for clues. However, the curiosity surrounding Jimin and Jungkook's whereabouts was not the only thing that caught attention. During the BTS concert, Jikook Moments were still visible and managed to make fans smile. Still, this time, I personally felt that something was slightly different. I want to make it clear from the beginning that everything I'm sharing here is simply my personal perception. It is not a fact, not a conclusion, and not something I can confirm. I may simply be reading too much into small movements that actually have no special meaning at all. Other ARMY may also see the same moments differently. If we think back to the previous concerts on this tour, Jimin and Jungkook's interactions have seemed increasingly spontaneous. As time has gone by, all of the BTS members also appear more relaxed on stage. They joke around more, laugh, improvise, chase each other around, and simply enjoy the atmosphere together. Jimin and Jungkook have also gradually shown more moments that make fans smile. That's why I personally have never really believed the theories that they are fighting or uncomfortable with each other. At least from what we can see publicly, there is no strong enough sign to conclude that something is wrong between them. However, during this particular concert, I got a slightly different impression. Not because I saw them arguing, but because they seemed more aware of how they interacted with each other when they were in front of the cameras. There were several moments when Jungkook appeared to walk toward Jimin. At first glance, his movement seemed as though it might bring them closer together, similar to what we have seen at previous concerts. But before the interaction developed into something more obvious, one of them seemed to slightly change direction and simply continue walking as usual. Something similar could also be seen from Jimin's side. There was a moment when he appeared to naturally move toward Jungkook, but then seemed to give him a little more space. Again, I'm not saying that they intentionally did this. It was simply the impression I got when watching the overall atmosphere of the concert. For some people, movements like these may be far too subtle to notice. But after following BTS and their concerts for years, sometimes we become more sensitive to small details. A change in walking direction, a brief glance, a tiny smile, or a movement that lasts only a few seconds. Then I started connecting this with various things that happened after Paris. Recently, countless theories, videos, analyses, and discussions about Jimin and Jungkook have continued to appear across social media. Almost every interaction between them can become a topic of discussion. They might simply look at each other, smile, walk past one another, stand in the same area of the stage, or make a small movement that may actually be completely ordinary. But once the video is uploaded, everything can be analyzed frame by frame. Perhaps Jimin and Jungkook are aware of that situation as well. As viewers, we only see the concert for a few hours. We enjoy the music, performances, jokes, and interactions between the members. Afterward, we go home with our favorite moments, whether we recorded them ourselves or watched them through fan uploads. For the members, however, the situation is obviously different. Once the concert ends, thousands of videos from countless angles begin circulating. Every glance, movement, expression, or touch can be noticed and interpreted differently by millions of people. Imagine if every small movement you made had the potential to become the subject of a new theory. A glance that lasted only a fraction of a second could be interpreted as having a deeper meaning. An ordinary smile could be analyzed. Even changing direction while walking could become something people question. In my opinion, that kind of situation cannot always be easy. That is why I want to emphasize once again that this is only my personal perception. I don't know what actually happens backstage. I don't know what is going through Jimin's or Jungkook's minds. We are not in their position, and we cannot possibly know the entire story from just a few clips. All I can share is the impression I got from what was visible during that concert. Jimin and Jungkook still seemed to have the same connection when their eyes met. There were still those little spontaneous smiles. There were still brief expressions that felt familiar to those who have been paying attention to their interactions for a long time. The only thing that felt different to me was the physical aspect. I felt that both of them seemed slightly more careful or measured when they were physically very close to each other. If that is indeed the case, I hope it is a choice they made for themselves and something they are comfortable with. Because there is a big difference between keeping your distance because of pressure and choosing to give each other space because you want to protect your own comfort. Jimin and Jungkook are two individuals who live under an extraordinary amount of public attention. They perform in front of thousands of people in person, while millions of cameras and phones are ready to capture almost every movement they make. In a situation like that, it is completely understandable for someone to eventually find their own way to maintain a boundary between their professional life and personal space. And if they have chosen to be a little more careful while on stage, that does not automatically mean that their relationship has changed. Keeping some physical distance in public is not the same as losing emotional closeness. A person's private relationship and the way they behave in front of thousands of spectators are two different things. We also have to remember that cameras only show us a very small part of their lives. We don't know what happens when the cameras stop recording. We don't know what conversations take place backstage, how they joke around when they are not performing, or what their interactions are like when millions of eyes are no longer watching them. So perhaps there is no need to rush into conclusions based on just a few seconds of video. The same applies to their whereabouts during the departure for Boston. Not being seen on camera does not mean they were not there. They may have already gone inside, been in another area, or simply chosen not to appear in the posts we saw. At the end of the day, we simply don't know what happens when the cameras stop recording. Jimin and Jungkook still have those little moments that make ARMY smile. If they seemed more careful this time, or if they were not visible during the departure, that does not mean we should immediately jump to conclusions. Not every distance means there is a problem, and not every moment has to carry a deeper meaning. Let's enjoy what they choose to share with us and continue to respect their personal space. What do you think? Do you think Jimin and Jungkook had already boarded the plane? Or were they simply somewhere else? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. See you again in the next Jikook Moments.